We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, everybody. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas. And in today's first hour, we're going to focus on Bill Barr and how he was never your friend. He was never your buddy guy. He was never your pal. Okay? He was never there to do anything but control the situation with another guy like Mike Pompeo. Think about this. You had two high-level Central Intelligence agent veterans right on the huggy nuts of Donnie T. All right, you got Barr as the Attorney General, really the boy wonder back in the day under the first Bush administration, was in the Central Intelligence Agency before he became a lawyer, actually discussed possibly having to recuse himself from the Department of Justice investigation into Epstein because the privatized law firm, one of them, that he ended up doing work for back in the Dizzy, after all the Attorney General and CIA stuff, it's a movement system, right? It's a mass management system, was Kirkland and Ellis. And that is one of the law firms that was buddy with the Epstein. And this is some of my biggest criticism out there, okay? You got guys like Barr over here on Fox, okay, telling his side of the story, placating slightly to those that knew that Trump was right from the start. He actually says that, by the way. That is a direct quote. All right? Direct quote. All right? But you'll see on most of the media takes on this, what I'm going to talk about, not talked about at all. At all. The right-wingers will have their talking points, that this vindicates everything they said, except for, guess what? 0 prosecutions, guys. Let me repeat that. 0. What you saw was what you got. And 2 of them failed. And they were meant to fail. Born to lose, baby, on purpose. Because of guys like Barr managing it. So Barr gets to sit up there on Fox with Bret Baier, who is one of the most stereotypical, like if I put it into an AI machine and said newscaster. In fact, if you watch the premium of this week, if you are redvoicemedia.com/uncensored, signed up, $10 a month, $100 for the year, tell them Jason Bermas sent you, then you'll see us in real time create an AI portrait, like 4 or 5 of them. And the ones that have like a full like newscaster guy, it reminded me of the cover I did for Mark Dice, actually. Let's bring it up. The true story of fake news, because I actually did a lot of those covers back in the day. And there we go. Okay, it's good stuff. It's good stuff to this day. Here we go. Let's take a look at it. The true story of fake news. Man, that's a while back now. But he kind of looks like that, less gray in the hair. And that's the kind of personality he has. He's certainly not like a pundit. Very much fed his lines, reads his lines, has the mainstream talking points all lined up. Now, the media's, running with what Barr said about the $2 million pardon. What interests me about that case is that's really all I care about. And by the way, I think it has some validity. Ooh, Jason, you're going to speak out against Rudy Giuliani? Yeah, Rudy Giuliani, big part of the 9/11 cover-up. Knows that bombs went off in the buildings, okay? That's not imagination land. That's not me speculating. 100% knows bombs were in the building. Michael Hess, his right-hand man, all right, was stuck in Building 7 after bombs went off in that building. On television talking about it, okay? And you're telling me that Rudy doesn't know, wasn't in touch with his right-hand man right after 9/11? Believes that a 47-story skyscraper just falls in on himself? No. So Giuliani's never been great. I don't care if he had his Lewinsky moment with some, 40-year-old floozy or whatever. Why would I care about that? I don't. I do care about $2 million pardons. Why am I giving that credence? Well, guess what? John Kiriakou, okay, who is an actual whistleblower, who went to actual prison for telling the actual truth of what was going on via torture and waterboarding in particular during the War of Terror at some of these black sites. So here's a guy in the Central Intelligence Agency that has a soul. And I actually have a great piece. I think we've aired it here before, maybe even on the live show in the last 6 months, where he talks about getting things for assets, abroad and otherwise. And what he says is, well, if you need intelligence and your asset doesn't like women or men, instead they like children, you get it for them. Sorry. Okay, the ends don't justify those means for me. And I had a really long conversation with Nick Bryant, who I'm going to be interviewing, looks like next Tuesday. I'm looking at my calendar. Got my calendar up here. We got the screens. If only I had a good power supply. If only that were a thing. Imagine that. Then we have a pretty good setup here. Anyway, I'm ranting. That's the show, by the way. Brian and I are talking about this, and I believe it's EpsteinJustice.com. I've got to look at the site. I shouldn't probably be giving it out. Let me see if I can bring it up. EpsteinJustice.com. He's working on it. So yes, this is his site. A lot going on. They're going to be doing a lot on this. But basically, he said this. Look, this isn't a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. I think everybody can get behind stopping the trafficking of children. And the Epstein network is a real network that was really doing that, okay, and connected to people at the highest levels. He goes, look, I know it's a long shot. But I said to him like this, look, I always thought it was going to be a long shot that somebody like Harvey Weinstein was going to be in jail. That's pretty high up the food chain, guys. Up in the Hollyweird. I mean, Weinstein was connected to a lot of bad people, and he had hired Black Cube, which is ex-IDF and Mossad, essentially, their little network, to keep tabs on his alleged victims. When I say keep tabs, yeah, maybe running some pretty interesting type of operations on them. So Bryant, for those that don't know, by the way, he's the Black Book guy. You can thank Nick Bryant for putting out the actual Black Book. How about that? Another great thing, in the second hour today, it's an interview with Derek Brose. And interestingly enough, Derek said, I've been trying to get Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on my program for a year now. Supposed to be coming on soon. We'll see what happens. And, he's got some tough questions for him. Thank you, Derek. And one of those tough questions is, we haven't talked about it and no one's asked him, and somebody is eventually going to ask him. He's in Epstein's little black book. Now, again, what does that mean? You look at Trump, and he's the front runner for the Republican Party. I told you he had a relationship with him when a lot of people were in denial about that. A lot of people were in denial. No, it's Clinton. I'm like, guys, both of them. Both of them. And we also have to come to terms that not everybody who met with Epstein or was a connection of Epstein was into children. Another reason people stuck around him is because children become adults. And he certainly did have an adult network as well. Some were even brought in as adults. If you followed the case, if you look at somebody like Sarah Ransom, and I forgot who the other one is, I don't even want to say a wrong name. But Brian and I had a great conversation. We're going to have a better one on Tuesday where we're going to talk about these new documents that nobody else has seen but the Wall Street Journal. And they're putting out bits and pieces through these stories. They have emails within these power banking circles, okay? In these power banking circles of everybody knew. So listen, if there are people like banksters that know this stuff, you better bet your ass the FBI, the CIA, the NSA knows this stuff. And if they know this stuff and they're connected, are they in charge of it? And if they are in charge of it, who's in charge of it? And that's decentralized. And that's where you get Billy Barr. So Bill Barr will sit there, he'll go, he literally says this. It was really hard for me, by the way, to find the full clip from last night. And the irony is, Bill Barr came on Brett Baer's program, and then the next guest was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's almost the way, I almost wish I had both those segments, to how starkly they were in contrast with one another. But at the same time, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has said several times now that he's had a good relationship and a friendship with Joe Biden for decades. He's not shy about talking about, which at least I respect. He's not trying to hide that aspect. Okay? Whereas I'm sure Donnie T is not going to be talking about his relationship with Epstein. But again, what was the fallout with Epstein? Some have said property business deals. Others have suggested that it was because of the Virginia Giuffre Roberts case, where I believe it was her father who worked at Mar-a-Lago. And once he found out what had happened to one of his workers' daughters, that's when he's like, okay, enough. I'm just telling you what's in the media. I couldn't tell you one way or another what's real there, but what I can tell you is real is the spin that Barr gives on this. He outright tells you, yes, they did this. Yes, Trump was right. Yes, there should have never been a Russiagate probe whatsoever. It was all Johnny nonsense. No, we are not going to prosecute. And the excuse given is to prove criminal intent is too high a bar. Get it? We got jokes. We got jokes. I'm in my 40s, guys. More dad jokes are coming. So I think you might even say a high standard. And that would be hard to prove in court. It was always meant to be that way. He even talks about, if this wasn't a witch hunt, it sure looks like one. Flip the script. Flip the script on anyone, not just on Donnie T, right? And what they've done to him and 2 impeachments and John, because he's able to get out of those. They just hit him with that New York sexual assault case, which was, beyond ludicrous. And obviously he's going to appeal that. And who knows what will happen if they get a change of venue, which they probably won't, right? Same thing, look at the verdicts on the press. Seditious conspiracy. And then they're marching out a bunch of feds and law enforcement officers and compromised morons in D.C. No counter protest to the people literally up to their ears in neckerchiefs, sunglasses, hats, some wearing gloves. You can't tell anything. Full sleeves. Give me a break. And we're going to take a break now that we're going to go to a word from our sponsor.
Folks, we have a huge problem on our hands. A banking crisis is spiraling, and it's all thanks to the current administration's reckless spending, sky-high inflation, and massive interest rate hikes. Now, these banks are suffering, and guess what? They can legally seize your savings without notice to bail themselves out. That's right. Thanks to a sneaky law passed back in 2008, it's now legal for banks to take your hard-earned money, including your retirement savings, to save themselves. Now, this could leave your retirement accounts decimated, and you paying the price for their disastrous policies. Take action now before it's too late. Now, this guide will show you how to defend your money and keep your retirement savings safe from the banking crisis and the current administration's financial fiasco. This simple and 100% legal strategy may help you protect your retirement against higher taxes, soaring inflation, and a volatile economy. So don't let your golden years be ruined by someone else's mistakes. To secure your free wealth protection guide and safeguard what's rightfully yours, don't wait. The time to act is now.
Folks, if you want to support the broadcast, I do want to remind everybody, the second hour will be streaming free. If you're watching on YouTube, great. Sorry, second hour, that's when we go a little harder, when we play. I mean, look at yesterday's second hour. Could we have gotten away with telling the Scott Shara story and what happened to that guy's poor daughter and integrating why it's happening at 100%, not on YouTube anymore? So I want you to subscribe over at Rumble to Red Voice Media. They have a long stream. It's their big logo. That's where you can find the second hour streaming for free. We're going to play probably a couple clips today of my interview with Steve Poikonen of Sloan Newsday. We're going to show you Dan Dix over at Bilderberg 2023, which everybody should start to be arriving tomorrow. And maybe even tonight. I can't wait to see the reporting coming out of Charlie Skelton. We're still waiting for the list. Maybe we'll get the list by tomorrow. I'm going to scour the internet tonight for that. So we're going to play that clip as well. And before we get to any of that, I do want to encourage you, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. $10 a month. It supports the broadcast. You get 8 free hours, right? And honestly, I do, mixed martial mindset usually once a week, or you get a dishwash along, or another video. I'm doing like 10 plus hours. Plus, I do interviews all over. Like yesterday I did, SGT report. That's out today. And, SGT has come a long way. He talked about in it how he's kind of given up on the hopium, but he was really hopeful about this Durham report after he read it. And again, what everybody was saying was in the report, which again, it does vindicate Trump 100%. I'm like, yeah, but bro, they're not going to prosecute anybody. And I talked about Iran-Contra and, decades of deception and a real deep state. And continuously, I'm like, look, man, I know everybody wants a light at the end of the tunnel, but I don't know that we're going to get one at the high levels. And you know what? It's part of the great conversation that you're going to hear with Derek Bros in the second hour. Okay? So remember, for free, RVM Rumble. Subscribe. By the way, thumbs it up, subscribe, and share if you haven't already. Let's get to it. This is like a 14-minute segment, okay? And it's an important one. It's going to be hard for me to continually pause on it, only because I didn't rip this one because it's only on Daily Mail, and I could not find it literally anywhere in full.
To the special counsel's report on the Trump-Russia collusion investigation. Tonight we get perspective from former Attorney General William Barr, who put all of this in motion, choosing John Durham for this job. Attorney General, thank you so much for being here. What's your take as you read this report? What do you take away from it?
I take away from it that it was a success in that its purpose from the very beginning was to get to the truth. It was not launched as a criminal investigation, and people...
See the little smirk? Little smirkles? Oh, we got smirkles on Barr. I got my smirkle on. He tells you, this wasn't a criminal investigation. We weren't really looking, to put people in jail, even though we already knew that Trump was correct from the outset. And of course they knew that. You think he didn't know? It's just like, wow, I was really surprised they lied to me about the Hunter Biden laptop. Gee whiz. The intelligence guy, okay. The lawyer guy, okay. The attorney general guy, okay.
Who compare it to the Mueller investigation are simply wrong. I asked him to get to the bottom of it, get his arms around the truth. If he found crimes, we could prosecute them. But I think that's what he's done. He's dug into it, and I think he's gotten as close to the bottom as anyone is going to get to this.
I mean, the key takeaways, there was no actual evidence to support launching Crossfire Hurricane. And also the Hillary Clinton campaign directly or indirectly funding and driving much of the investigation.
Directly or indirectly. Like, come on, it's all directly. His political opponent, and again, they worded it in a way that was so broad in the report that they're not going to bring criminal investigations. So again, they admit the political opponent is the one that helped launch the witch hunt that had no basis in reality. None. Whole lot of Johnny nonsense.
Is that what's key to you?
Yeah, well, I think what this has shown is that the source, and there are really two sources and drivers of this whole ugly episode, and that is Hillary Clinton's campaign, who launched a smear campaign that was based on getting Russian sources to spread false information about Donald Trump and peddle it to the press and to the government, the FBI. And both the press and the FBI abandoned any semblance of professionalism and took up the cause with a vengeance. And I think the real story here from the FBI's perspective is what an abomination this was, this so-called investigation. If it wasn't a witch hunt, it's a damn good imitation of one.
A damn good imitation of one. Of course it was, but again, we all knew this. It's just like Leslie Stahl, Operation Crossfire Hurricane. No, they never. This is 60 minutes, sir. This is 60 minutes. We report the truth here. That we don't know that. Yeah, we did. It was everywhere. It wasn't really ever in question. Narrative management. And this guy is part of narrative management. So he's here to placate, but tell you, sorry, nobody going to jaily. Sorry beans.
As you can imagine, reaction has been all over the place, but pretty, on other networks, pretty specific in the criticism of the report. Take a listen.
4 years, millions of dollars, a record-long investigation, and he has nothing to show for it.
Again, and this is what every other news organization is saying anyway. They all get to keep their talking points too, guys.
There was just this real lack of substance to what he was doing. This was trying to say that there's a big there when, there's no there.
This was a whole big nothing. They did not prove this deep state conspiracy because it never existed in the first place.
When is it that?
Let's not forget what the lie was. The lie was Russiagate. The lie was there was collusion. There was nothing to support it. And these people were implicated in spreading that lie and benefiting from it personally.
Oh, you see, here's Angry Barr. You see, now they're the bad guys.
And hurting the country with their conspiracy mongering. My effort and Durham's effort was to look at that, which turned out to have nothing behind it. I mean, talk about coming up empty. Mueller came up empty. He took an old case against Manafort and resuscitated it. He prosecuted Stone for lying to Congress, but there was no collusion. We went to look what got this started and what was behind it. And we have gotten to the answers.
Listen, we had the same, I'll say it again, we had the same answers 2017, 2018, 5-6 years ago. The same damn answers. This was supposed to put people in, at least, the walls are closing in. People would say that about Trump on one side with all the impeachments, and it's happening. Remember that one? It's happening, boy. The day of the Epstein arrest, so many people went right back to the secret indictments and the Johnny nonsense. when you look at the evidence on the Epstein arrest, and it was like pissed off new NYPD guys that had enough. They just had enough. That said, look, we got to do something about this. Hopefully we can do something about this. You got to remember, again, it was the NYPD guys that had the original laptop. Forget about the Hunter laptop. All right? They had the real laptopington of Anthony Weiner, which I get into with Derek Bros. But the significance of that is not just the crimes of Anthony Weiner with young girls that were only exposed after the fact. One of the girls came forward and had Skype conversations with Weiner. Now, we don't know what else is on there, but I can tell you this. Married to Huma Abedin. Huma Abedin absolutely used that laptop and logged in enough so that any communications with Hillary and the rest of the campaign would have been accessible there. Would have been, talk about a WikiLeaks. You would have went way beyond just the DNC emails. Okay? I'm just pointing that out. And nothing was done then. So what did you think was going to happen? This is the cover-up crew. This is the management guy.
Is there something that stops short of being a success if you don't get a prosecution? He failed in the prosecution that he brought forward. Obviously, there's other people that are mentioned here, but there's not an action against them in court.
Right. I made clear all the way through this thing, the first step is to find out what happened and get to the truth. And
smiling. Listen, I made it clear. We're not really prosecuting anybody. We're going to find out and get to the truth, but there's just too high a standard. We can't prove criminal intent. That was the whole point. You never prove criminal intent with these big investigations or these big white papers, right? Oh, we messed up here. We messed up there. Maybe there was some malice there. We can't prove it. You see it everywhere. See it with the 9/11 report, and you see it with the new COVID war report with Philip Zelikow at the head of both. I mean, talk about neoconned. You got neoconned, because that's what this guy is, Jack. That's a little throwback to Joey B.
If crimes can be proven, which are very high standard, you have to prove intent beyond a reasonable doubt, they'll be brought. But I tried to explain to people as we went along that when you're dealing with people who make discretionary decisions that were within their authority, it's very hard to prove corrupt intent. So you know, if there was a provable crime, it would be brought. John Durham felt he could not prove criminal intent in these cases. But the important thing is...
So let's just stop it right there. You notice how he eases into that with a few different lies? Like at first he gives you the thought, if, then we're going to bring charges, but we couldn't find criminal intent. And guess what? Neither did my boy Durham. We didn't find criminal intent. So no, there aren't going to be any more charges brought. But the important thing is the truth is out there. Again, but every other side is just going with their same talking points. Russia, 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 Russia. Russia, 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 Russia. And this guy helped that by not bringing criminal charges. Because there is Brennan's his buddy. Mueller's his buddy. Him and Mueller worked together back in the day during the Noriega stuff. Okay? He's not your friend, guy. He ain't your buddy, pal. I promise.
Shining light on what happened.
Well, what do you think comes out of that? I mean, is it up to Capitol Hill to dig in to force changes at the FBI? What comes out of this?
Well, I do think that the Hill can follow up on this and make sure that appropriate changes are made. I have to say that one of the things coming out of this is it's clear that the FBI, the problem, came from the top. This was not necessarily institutional rot or problems that may exist today. This was Comey, McCabe, Strzok driving this thing from the top. That is no longer the problem at the FBI. There are...
What? That's no longer that is the problem at the FBI. It's the same system. See how he lies to your face? Of course it was top down. Duh. Oh, it was at the highest level. Yeah, no kidding. And Christopher Wray ain't good, right? He ain't your buddy, pal. Merrick Garland over there in the Department of Justice. I mean, these are bad folks. They're bad. That problem is still there, Bill Barr. How dare you? And how dare you guys not come out and check out the My Pillow Man with another word from our sponsors.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your My Pillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, My Pillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog
Whoa,
beds.
whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get My Pillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
I'm interrupting that commercial. Can we get 100 thumbs up, everybody? Can we get some subs? Can we get some shares? Can we get you over to the RVM Rumble for the second hour? And listen, RVM's doing it over at redvoicemedia.com all day, baby. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Jason Bermas. Okay, 11 a.m. till 8:30 p.m. lineup, 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. Like I said, you get 2 interviews if you're premium. redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. We're probably going to give you a little sampler of that in the next segment of myself and Steve Poikonen. I thought they were great discussions with both him and Zach Voorhees. Zach comes from a very technical, coder-like mind, and we get to have an awesome conversation every time we get together. I really enjoy him as a guest, I just got to say. So those are 2 great interviews. The 2 from before, Alicia Powell talking about January 6th. She's putting out new footage via the Gateway Pundit this week that people have not seen before, accompanied by a bunch of stories. And also Wayne Dupree, and he's the cleanup hitter here. He's the last guy on. And he's doing a bang-up job as well for this network. So we're trying to grow. Can't do it without you. Want to play a little bit more of this Bill Barr thing. Because what a whitewash. And what a liar. He said, oh, everything's okay now. Everything's okay now. It's not okay. Oh, we fixed that at the top. No, you haven't. No. Let me do my Leslie Stahl, Bill. No.
Problems that have to be addressed, but that's not the problem. And I have to say that there have been some changes. Chris Wray and I put a lot of changes into effect as this thing has unfolded, and I think there's some more changes that can be made.
It is interesting to listen to not only Andrew Weissman, who was on the Mueller probe, but also Andrew McCabe.
Yeah, I vehemently disagree with Mr. Durham's characterizations of what we did in the report. And it's very simple. He betrays a deep misunderstanding of not only what we knew at the time, but how we make these decisions.
You have.
So again, and I'm glad that Brett Baer did this. Like I said, he's such a straight down the line, looks like he popped out of the womb to be like your cookie cutter newsman. But again, guys like McCabe, who should be held criminally accountable for what they did, instead are on CNN as paid contributors to refute the things in that report and what Bill Barr, his buddy, is saying about him. See how that works?
With John Durham is like it's a big fat nothing, and it reminds me of the sort of weaponization hearings that are going on, where there also is they're just falling flat on their face because there is no there.
And that's what you hear again.
Yeah, well, the there is that this investigation was launched by McCabe, who directed that it be brought immediately, opened immediately, before they even interviewed the Australian diplomat, and that turned out to be a nothing burger. And they then proceeded with this investigation, which they knew. They had just received intelligence that Hillary Clinton's campaign was spreading this information about Trump. And yet they took this information at face value. They relied upon it. It was unvetted. Things happened here that were a radical departure from how these cases are normally handled, and completely incompatible with the idea that this was an unbiased investigation.
But no prosecutions. So like I said, McCabe will be on every network all week saying the same thing. We thought, we weren't able to prove it, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen, right? The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence, as Donald Rumsfeld, ex-defense secretary, I believe he was the defense secretary under Bush, would say when, the weapons of mass destruction. Yep, you can't prove a negative, huh? Let's see. All right, should we play more of this? I don't know, man. I'm kind of getting like a little sick to my stomach here. Just a tad bit sick to my stomach listening to all this. It's tough. It's not easy. Man, there's other stories I do want to hit. Yeah, let's play a little more because I want to see if we can get to the Giuliani part, because I think that is important. Because look, don't hold water for Giuliani either. Like you want to get rid of the swamp, okay? All you want to get rid of the deep state. It's not going to be easy, but you don't get there by placating to one side or the other because you think they're better. They're the lesser of two evils. If you are going to say they're the lesser of two evils, say it like that, and why, and mention the evils. Damn it, okay? You can't make chicken soup out of chicken shit. And if you do, it ain't going to taste great. You get it?
You've been critical of your former boss, his temperament, his style. But in this case, in this effort to go after him, you defend him. You think this exonerates him?
Well, I felt as I started learning more and more about Russiagate, and I've said, this is one of the greatest injustices done to a presidential candidate and a president. And he was treated unfairly here. So he is vindicated as far as Russiagate is concerned.
You stop short there. Are you?
Well, I've had my differences with him. I've also said that I thought that he had great policies. He deserved a lot of credit for what he accomplished, and this was a grave injustice. And the fact that he was able to accomplish a lot in the face of it, I think, was a great achievement. I have other problems. I'm not supporting him for renomination, but he was right on this, and this is a vindication. He had it right from the beginning.
He had it right from the beginning. See that? He admit, and again, you can hate Donnie T all you want. You can worship Donnie T all you want. I'm just pointing out the facts. He did have it right from the beginning. The dude knew they were illegally spying on him. The dude knew that they were making up Russian nonsense. And I mean, the nail in the coffin on all of it is that Joey B, when he could still think straight, is like, how do we set him up? Let's set up Michael Flynn with the Logan Act. The Logan Act. Man, pull out the Bermas Info Warrior archives from the AJ days back in Texas, and time again, I would reference the Logan Act. And by the way, you want to use the Logan Act? We should be using it coming up this weekend, because in Lisbon, Portugal, there will be U.S. officials there and government officials that are meeting in private with the global power players. And they're completely unaccountable. That's what the Logan Act is for. So you can't have undue foreign influence. But no. You know, Leslie would tell you different. So I got these two clips that I want to play. I think we're just going to have enough time. And this is Dan Dix there, and then myself with Steve Poikonen of Slow News Day.
Make very careful, kind of incisive spending on the government's part.
Oh, wrong one. Hold on.
Behind me is a giant fortress wall surrounding the Pestiana Palace, and that is a couple of police barricades that are about to go up presumably to cut off this road and to cut off access for us to be able to film the Bilderberg members pulling into the hotel. But I'm going to do my best to capture some of them before they get here and before they make it to the barricades. So stay tuned, guys.
The big story in my mind, the one that obviously the mainstream media is not discussing, and really the alternative media, in my opinion, never covers enough, last year did not cover enough, is the fact the post-truth world elites, or the predator class that I like to call them, and their minions will be meeting in Lisbon, Portugal. And Charlie Skelton, who's now been on the case, believe it or not, over a decade, time flies, people. The days, the weeks, the months, the years, they just go forward. There is no backup. There is no rewind. You do get older. No one's invincible. This thing moves on. So Skelton put it out a while ago. He actually invited me to stay with him if I'd like to come out a couple weeks ago. I looked at the plane tickets, guys. We're talking $2,000 to $3,000 just to go. Forget about everything else. I got to be honest. I'm a little intimidated. I've never been to that part of the world. Maybe next time if I have a little bit more of a heads up. But Dan Dix also on his way out there. We recently interviewed Dan over at Making Sense of the Madness. I've had Dan on this program many times. Hopefully we're going to get updates. These people set policy. And I want to demonstrate this right now for everybody, because for the longest time, there was this idea that it was a golf club. Oh, they're golfing! They would actually put that disinformation out well before people like Tucker, not Carlson, James Tucker, Big Jim Tucker, everybody. Tucker, give Ike credit. He put a spotlight on them. People like even William Cooper and obviously Alex Jones, and pressing the issue. And people would start to talk about it a little bit more. Well, they had white papers, okay? And one of those white papers is right here. So it says right here in the top corner, not for publication either in whole or in part, Bilderberg meetings. This is the 1972 meeting, and they actually met in April. They pushed it back more along the summertime months for the United States and most of Europe, or at least late spring. So it's usually in May to June at this point. But I mean, this thing, it's a beaut. Okay, that's all I can say is it is a beaut. It's telling you right out of the gates. Just let's look at some of this. Economic considerations, the crumbling community of purpose, the claims of domestic priorities, trade relations, the case of Japan, European perspectives, relations with the third world, economic dealings with communist countries, transnational investment issues, international monetary reform, working together, institutions and attitudes, the new geometry of Asian relations, ingredients of the Japanese situation. Because remember, this is, you know why 1972 is important? Because this is around the time, actually, and you could check out more white papers, folks, where David Rockefeller is in a plane with Zbigniew Brzezinski, and the mostly Anglo-European Bilderberg establishment does not want to bring the Asian market in, and Japan in particular. But as you can see, they're pushing Japan about this time, and this is a huge explosion in Asian economic relations, everybody. That's where they decide to create the Trilateral Commission and bring in those Japanese and Asian markets. So we just looked at some important white papers. What are your thoughts, Steve?
Well, just a quick top off on that, too. 1972, also the year the Limits to Growth was published in the Club of Rome. 1972, very auspicious year in terms of the agenda that we're living under right now. I'm glad that you have those. I mean, it's a shame, man, that every year, and I remember very clearly last year, driving home here in Vegas, getting a phone call from you and talking to you about this, and you had either just gotten off the phone with Dew or were just getting on the phone with them after our call or whatever, and we were trying to sort out what exactly was happening and where it was, because it was just so limited in information at this point. There's a couple of key people in the media and research that we unfortunately lost during COVID. that, I know for a fact had been tipping you off for years, giving you a heads up for years is about, when and where it was going down. Last year it was right in D.C.
And here's the kicker, man. I had my girlfriend, and she lives right outside of D.C. in Virginia, here in Iowa. So there was no way that I could just jump on a plane or jump in my car and drive down and leave her and her daughter here. You know what I mean? That would have been unacceptable. But had I been there and got that call, I literally could have packed up the gear I had, maybe bought some extra gear right there, right around the corner from her house, and headed to D.C. and covered it. It's one of those. I felt like that one was a godsmack, dude. I didn't like that one. No offense, big guy. I'm not trying to talk any nonsense, but boy, I wish it was in reverse and I could have covered it.
Have you heard of Executive Order 14067? This little-known order implemented the digital dollar, the most sinister plan to control your spending. And it gets worse. In November, the federal government and banks began a test program to roll out the digital dollar. With this, privacy for all Americans will be lost forever. Imagine, the government can now track all of your spending. The government can tell you what you can and can't buy. The government could confiscate your cash. When digital currency was rolled out in China, Bloomberg wrote, quote, "This will lead to control like no other," end quote. The EU has announced that they are next, but it is already happening in America, which makes this wealth protection guide that American Alternative Assets just put out even more urgent. Project Hamilton, as this secret order is being called, might be the scariest order to happen to privacy and freedom in America since its founding, which makes this wealth protection guide so incredibly valuable right now. Move your money out of cash and into something that doesn't infringe on your privacy. You see, there is one legal IRS-proof loophole that could protect your IRA, 401k, and pension savings with gold and silver. And this free guide tells you exactly which steps you need to take right now to move part of your IRA or 401k into precious metals with no tax consequences. As this program rolls out, the sky's the limit for the level of government control that could be enforced on your money. Protect your savings and your privacy. But in the devastation ahead, American Alternative Assets is offering you something rare, a chance to protect your wealth and possibly even grow it.
So second hour coming up on the flip of this. I want to remind everybody that's going to be at the RVM Rumble for free. If you do want to support the broadcast, it is redvoicemedia.com/Jason. Or I'm sorry, /uncensored, not /Jason, /uncensored. Sorry, I read it on the promo before. /uncensored. Don't go to /Jason, /uncensored. Sign up. You'll get the Poikin interview in full. You'll get the Voorhees interview in full. Dupree, etc. And coming up this weekend, Jay Dyer should be one of the interviews, and then we're going to see what the second one is. The week after that, looks like it's going to be Nick Bryant. So top-notch stuff. Consider supporting us. I want to get into some of the other stories that we haven't covered. Man, I've been wanting to cover this sustainability document here, Migration in the 2030 Agenda. Along the lines with our buddy here, Cuomo, that's now saying things that he could never have said on CNN. What an actor that guy is. That guy doesn't care one way or another. Trust me, he just wants to be on TV doing TikToks with his daughter. Biden National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, he's a big-time intelligence guy, confronted drunk intruder who snuck past Secret Service into his D.C. home at 3 a.m. in mass security breach. Bizarre. That's all I can say about that. The man walked into Sullivan's home in the West End neighborhood at 3 a.m. on a night at the end of April. Sullivan confronted the man and told him to leave. He then went outside his home to warn the agents once the intruder had already left. Now, the Secret Service has launched an investigation into how the man managed to sneak past Sullivan's protection detail, which was stationed outside. Believe it or not, this is what the deep state looks like. That guy. That's what they look like, guys. I'm just letting you know. Ex-LAPD cop, 46, who once received Medal of Valor, is charged with sexually assaulting 4 boys, aged 11, 12, and 13, at his home while he was an officer. First of all, $2.5 million, not enough. No bail. No bail. Let's await trial. And then you're convicted. You go to jail for the rest of your life. How about that? And one of the reasons that occasionally I throw these stories in is because the monsters are among us. Sometimes they are in law enforcement. Sometimes they are in government. Sometimes they are in Hollywood. Sometimes they are in our school systems. They are everywhere. But when you look at somebody like Nick Bryant and the book The Franklin Scandal, in particular, there are law enforcement officers that are implicated in that, and it's horrendous. So every time we get a little dark right there, when it starts to get a wee bit dark, we at least cover it a little bit. For instance, we barely talked about it. I mentioned it in passing with Derek Brose, but Derek Brose has been doing a lot of work on that Utah case, which has satanic ritual abuse in it. Okay, and that's not satanic panic, guys. You read this investigation and you read the eyewitness accounts and you see that they've made arrests. And again, you find out that the people accused, like, and again, just accused, like Levitt and others, are alleged to do some dark, unimaginable things. Things that really should not exist in the world, but somehow do. Forget hard mode. You can now play these video games on quote-unquote long COVID mode to experience what patients do. If you thought the psychological warfare was over, sorry. It's rolling strong in the middle of May 2023. You're short of breath. I can't even I don't want to make too many comments on it. It's towards the end of the show. I don't want to get this thing banned, but my God. My giggity God. Here's something that disappointed me slightly, and again, it shows that we're all a little beholden to Hollywood and the entertainment world, right? Voice of Bart Simpson is honored by Church of Scientology for donating $21 million. Nancy Cartwright is feted on stage next to CEO David Miscavige and calls it the most beautiful acknowledgement. Think about how much money that woman has made. She's given $21 million to this guy. And the last I heard, weren't they looking for Miscavige for a number of different possible criminal offenses, including like the disappearance of his wife? Like, I mean, I don't know where those investigations have gone, but the 2023, The Simpsons voice, Nancy Cartwright, 21 mil over the years to Scientology. You talk about bizarro land. Wanted to bring this up. YouTube.com/Vito at Vito Comedy. This guy, I became aware of him when he counter-protested the people protesting David Chappelle with a big sign saying, "I like jokes." It was a bit that went pretty viral. And he was talking about tech company. I'll just read it. Watching these tech companies destroy my friends' lives and livelihoods without even having the decency to let them plead their case to a real human being is truly horrifying and sad. And I said, join the party. 3 years completely demonetized and the channel taken down 4 separate times. Twitter is literally the only recourse to even defend yourself. It's true. And that's only if you have a presence here and your followers help. This is horrifying. That's how it works. Like, honestly, again, I need, I don't do it. I guess I don't do it enough to show. Let's see if we can just get into studio.youtube.com from the back end. It's ridiculous and it's arbitrary. Right now I have no strikes, right? I constantly get hit with copyright, whatever, but that doesn't affect the channel. Here's the deal. Let's go to, where is it? Monetization over here. It's got to be, there's send feedback, content, customization. Where is it? Did they just take it down? That's just settings. Okay. Let's close it. They just not even going to let me? There it is, earn. So I'm not allowed to earn anything because my channel has harmful content. And how do they define harmful content? Content that focuses on controversial issues and that is harmful to viewers. I haven't hurt anybody. I've done the opposite of hurt people, actually. Okay, so no, that isn't me. Sorry, but they just get to outright. I mean, is that defamation? Should I bring a class action lawsuit to these people? They say they're a company. They're not. They're a Trojan horse civilian system. Okay? That's all they is. And they are the establishment. They are the narrative management. And the thing is, even if they let me back on and monetized me, my reach would still not be able to grow at the pace of anybody else because the algorithm would say, no, no, no. Just like over on Twitter, right? Go follow me at Jason Bermas. Great. My tweets are never elevated or boosted. It just doesn't happen. And the FBI still has backdoor access to deboost anybody they like. I want to see who's been shadow banned for a decade because it sure happened before Trump. And, that was one of the other great illusions. Oh, it's conservatives being censored. Yeah, no, they started to get censored too, also. Because they intend to censor everybody. Okay? They've done it to the sane people on the left as well. Right? Forget about deboosted. When somebody like RFK Jr. gets out there and is, get out of here. Hey, Naomi, we'll see you later. Talk about deboosted. And then I see these other people that maybe are starting to get shadow banned a little bit more, but they don't even know what it's like. But now they're going to go after the comedians. If you don't have the audience, you might never be able to build the audience on these type of social media platforms if they don't want you to. Again, those are just the facts, Jack. And, earlier we went to this clip by accident that's just totally mind-blowing. After the COVID-19 84 nightmare, they are now considering in Canada, to just take money from people that have saved it, that are in the bank. We're just going to take your money. And I know that sounds absurd, but here we go.
Make very careful, kind of incisive spending on the government's part to get the economy going. What might that look like? Can you give us any detail?
Well, it's great to be with you, Amanda. And I want to thank you, first of all, for really zeroing in on the preloaded stimulus idea. None of us have a crystal ball. But economists like Ben, like Doug, have been pointing out that some Canadian households, and it tends to be the better off households, do have quite a lot of money that they've saved because there hasn't been that much to do in the pandemic. And certainly it would be great if that money could go towards driving our recovery.
It would be great. We just take people's money. We in the dark cartoon, everybody. We are in the dark cartoon. Consider supporting the broadcast. redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Try it out for $1 today. You get the first week for $1. Then it is $10 a month, or lock it in for a year. Save $20, $100. 2 extra interviews from myself. All the other Red Voice Media premium content. We're about to go into the second hour. We got one more commercial, really quick one, VPN, IP Vanish. I actually use it myself. Use RVMVPN.com. But I'm going to come back really quick. But I'm letting you know that second hour is streaming live right now over on Rumble. Here is the last commercial.
We love the internet, but the internet is tracking everything you do. Take control of your online privacy with IP Vanish. People with malicious intent are everywhere, watching you. Criminals can hack your Wi-Fi, while broadband providers and advertisers monitor your data. With IP Vanish on your device, your internet activity is encrypted. No one can see what you're doing. Your location, your connection, completely hidden. Protect your internet privacy today with IP Vanish.
All right, folks, we're going over to the second hour, so we will see you on the flip side with Derek Bros. Subscribe today.